Hello again, it's me. I'm back to do another installment of my recovery story. Again, amazing response to the last one about step one. Thank you so much. Your response has really sort of given me motivation to keep going. I didn't know that you were going to resonate so much with this, so I'm really grateful to be able to share some experiences. I don't speak for AA again, this is just my experience with the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. It did change my life completely and stop me from being a daily fall down drunk and drug addict to someone who doesn't do that anymore. Just that is incredible. If you'd have told me when I was in the thick of my addiction that I wouldn't have to use again, I wouldn't have believed you. And now I don't even think about using. A few people have asked, do you still have cravings? They went within the first 6 months of doing the steps. My cravings went, but now my problem is life. The way my brain works without drugs and alcohol or without the program, it will tell me crazy stuff. I feel like an addict's mindset is slightly warped and it favors negativity, and I end up there if I don't have my daily practice of the 12 steps, or I end up being very negative and obsessive, and all these things are just the addiction talking. Obsessive negative thinking, negative self-talk. It's just the addict sitting on my shoulder saying, oh, you're not good enough to have some drugs. And then the other side of me will go to the steps, and that gives me relief. But I don't think about drinking or using anymore. The craving left me really early on. When I got to step 9, I no longer had the urge to use. And we'll get to step 9 in a few weeks, but it says in this book that the urge will leave you, and it did. It does work. This stuff really works. So anyway, this week, step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Some people get freaked out by talk of God and religion in the steps, but it's not a religious program, it's a spiritual program. You don't have to believe in God. I know a lot of people who are completely atheist who've multiple years of recovery in this program, and they have their own concept of a higher power. It doesn't have to be God. It can be any power greater than yourself. And people have all kinds of concepts of higher power. Some people it's nature. Everyone's higher power concept is something very personal to them. And I actually do believe in God. I don't know about religions. I feel a very strong connection with a power greater than myself. And the fact that I'm sober is sort of a proof to me of that. I don't know enough about all the religions to be able to comment, but I definitely believe in a God. But as I say, it can be anything. Your higher power can be anything that isn't you, they say. Because for me, my best thinking and my best power of myself got me to a point where I was a hopeless drinker and a drug taker, a hopeless alcoholic, depressed, pathetic and sad, living in a room of a house, not being able to do anything. That's where my best thinking got me. That's where my power took me. So if I start to rely on myself, that's where I'll end up, because I'll be drawn to the dark side, because I can't rely on my own self-talk to tell me how to live. So I have to rely on a power greater than myself. When I first came into recovery, I was desperate and I was willing to take suggestion, and I was willing to follow these steps because I didn't have any other option. I didn't want to go back to my old life. So this was the first time I was introduced to a power greater than myself. And I looked at my life and went, you've messed up your life, so why not accept that there's a power greater that might have a better idea of how to live. So again, step 2 for me was easy. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I was insane, and I could see that. My thinking was insane, my life situation was insane. When I look back at all my decisions, they were all insane. They were all just about getting drunk and high above everything else, above family, above friends, above everything else, and that's insane. That's insanity. And they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I did the same thing over and over again. Got drunk and high and drunk and high and drunk and high and drunk and high, and expected a different result. I expected my life to get better, and it just got worse. So I was literally doing the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So that was an easy step for me. I was willing to accept that something other than me would help me to not be insane anymore, because I couldn't rely on myself. myself was dragging me back to that same thing every day. I'd surrendered. I threw my hands up and said, okay, show me a higher power, because I'm going to die if I don't. I've already, messed up everything, and my second slip I did die, I think. So I'm not doing a good job of running my life. So show me a better way, was my thought process. And restore me to sanity. I need some sanity in my life. So like 1, 2 is easy for me. If you want to go through these steps, ask someone from the program to sponsor you, and they can take you through these steps. It's not a religious program, again, it's a spiritual program. Anyone can get sober, regardless of what they believe, regardless of what religion, regardless if they're atheist. It works for everyone. I've known people from all walks of life get sobriety through this program. So yeah, 2 was an easy one for me. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Next week, step 3. That's a big one. A lot of people struggle with 3, so we're going to get to that next week. Thank you so much. This, like I say, this is like a meeting for me. Everything's virtual, everything's Zoom. I'd rather just talk to you guys in a way, although I should go to Zoom meetings. I'm not doing it enough. So you guys have kept me sober today again, so thank you. Me talking to you helps me stay sober, because I'm passing on the message as it was given to me. So let's answer some questions from last week. Tweet me the questions, because then I can read them in an easy place when I'm making these videos. Instagram's harder to keep track of all the questions. Stephen Hilton 23 on Twitter with a PH. Tweet me the questions, and then when I'm making these videos I can read them. But an overwhelming amount of people have asked a very similar question from last week, and I really wanted to address that. At mslong1327, at Lexi Higgins 108, at Maddie4 Tacos. It's funny reading people's Twitter names, like in a serious video, isn't it? Because some of them are funny. Anyway, so many people asked me questions like this. Alison writes, thank you for sharing your story. I have one question. How do you help or support someone in your family struggling with addiction? I've had so many questions along those lines, and it's painful to read that, because there's nothing you can do. I don't think there's anything you can do for an addict to get them help unless they want to get help for themselves. It sounds a bit cliche, or you've got to want to do it for you to get help, but doing the steps is such a soul-searching, difficult process, emotionally difficult. Actually, the day-to-day is quite easy, but you have to dig really deep, and in order to want to do that, you really have to want help yourself, because otherwise, the minute you start having to delve deep, if someone has made you do it, you're not going to really be honest in your search, your inner search. So I feel like the person has to want to get help, and they have to have hit bottom. And that's, like I say in the last video, that's different for everyone. Everyone has a different bottom, but there's nothing you can do to make someone get help, and there's nothing you can really do to help an addict. The only thing you can do, which is very valuable, is get help yourself. If you're a family member of an addict, there's a program called Alanon, and it's a 12-step program for families. And they teach you in there how to deal with an addict through their version of the 12 steps. And one of their things they say is you can say something, you can challenge someone on their addiction once, just once. You can't keep nagging them. To avoid seeming like you're nagging, you can say something once, and then all you can do is help yourself. So if you get better, they can see you get better, and they can see you stop enabling. Enabling an addict is bad, because you can love an addict to death. You can support and love an addict to death, because addicts will take and take and take, and they won't give anything back. And I can say this because I am one. An untreated addict is very selfish, and there's nothing you can really do except get help yourself. If an addict can see their family members establishing boundaries, refusing to enable, tough love in a way, that can enforce a bottom. Stopping helping an addict, stopping supporting an addict, stopping letting them use without consequences will bring about a rock bottom. And that's the only way you can help an addict really to get help or to get sober. I think they have to hit bottom. I'm petrified that Alfie's going to be an alcoholic. I'm so scared of it because I know there's nothing I can do. I want to tell him as much as I can not to ever use or drink, but I'm scared. I'm so scared. Me and Laura are both alcoholics, and her last video about a brain scan, the doctor in that video said we have to sit Alfie down at 10 years old and explain to him the family history. But at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do, and if you're a partner of an addict, I wish you all the love in the world, and get help yourself. Go to an Alanon meeting, ask for help, get an Alanon sponsor. They're dealing with the same thing, and that's one-to-one help for families. So yeah, that's an answer to that question. That's the only answer I know, and so many people asked it, so I hope that helps. Another question here. Taylor, mum of 2, writes, did you have to cut ties with many family and friends? Did you get a lot of judgment from people around you when you quit? I did lose some friends. I've lost some friends that I thought were very good friends when I quit drinking. One person in particular was very close to me, and we drank together all the time. He was like my best friend. When I got sober, I feel like he was challenged by that. Like, he didn't like the fact that I was sober, didn't like the fact that I didn't drink, and we just grew apart. And what I've realised now, it was very painful at the time because I couldn't understand why I was getting so much judgment from someone for trying to not die. He's still using and drinking as far as I know. Some people I did drift apart from, but what I've realised now looking back is that wasn't a valuable friendship as I thought. That wasn't as deep a friendship as I thought because we were using all the time. And the friendships I've made since then with other sober people, and even with people that aren't sober, the friendships I've made since being a sober person are far more deeper and far more valuable. So it was painful, and I did have to let a few people go, but those losses were filled with amazing new people in my life who really are supportive. I did have to change my circle of friends, and that may happen, but look at the gifts of sobriety that my life has totally changed. If I'd have just tried to control my circle of friends and tried to stay in that circle of friends and I have to fit in, and I would never have moved to America. I would never have started making videos. I would never have met Laura. So, you know, it's meant to be what is meant to be is meant to be. And I'm grateful every day for the changes of people in my life since I got sober. So keep writing those questions, and let's go to step 3 next week. And I love you guys, and thank you for helping me stay sober today.